Keeps clips. Keeps clips. Hello, welcome back, and of course we gave you a sneak preview of one of the slides there, but I'm delighted to be joined in the studio by KARL LENTZ. Welcome.
Thank you. Brian.
Thanks for coming, and what we just said is amazing that we hadn't planned to do this before Christmas, but we got a phone call from Bali saying that you were in the country, we should get you down and do an interview, and that's what's happened. Yeah. So if I just drive things a little bit in the beginning, just tell us a bit about yourself. Where are you from in the States?
Well, I'm originally from New York City, and once a family had enough money, they went and bought farmland out on Long Island, and we raised basically on a chicken farm. And then in the summertime, we'd go back in New York City, so I got lucky. I was able to understand city life with relatives in the city, and I understood the farm life out in the country. So I was lucky. I got to intermingle with both worlds. So, but like I said, just like any other man or woman, you start out very early in life learning law. You know what's proper and just and what's wrong at a very early age. So the reason why I've really had to delve into this to the level I have is because I had a son who was born in 2001, and he was born with Downs. So what the government tried to do, they tried to make all kinds of proposals to us of benefits and Medicaid and Social Security, and I wished of nothing of the government, because when you receive a benefit, obviously there's going to be some sort of a latch attached to it. They're going to want to inspect the home, inspect the child. It's like, look, we've got this covered. We have a farm in Virginia. We have our families lived for thousands of years without any government intervention. So can you just leave us alone? And for some reason, they just kept saying, you need to sign Medicaid, Social Security cards. You got to, be able to find funding for him for the rest of his life. I said, we've got that covered. We don't require any benefits from the government. So what was funny is they kept trying to say, well, if you don't sign with us, you're not going to have your child discharged to you from the hospital. I said, oh, really? I said, you realize that is my property in that other room that you're talking about? And the two women from Social Services, CPS, said, oh, you just called your child property. I said, well, that's my property. And don't worry if I call him child or not, that's my property. And like, oh, I can't believe you just said that. So then I looked down to the end of the table, and the mother was down there. I said, hey, yo, are you my property? And she said, absolutely. I said, why is that? She said, because you're mine. I said, that's right. I said, so what is property? Property is that which is proper to man, that which is exclusive to all others within a society, which includes all the products and services he creates by laboring his body. So I basically just said to the lady, because we're exclusive to each other within this society. We have a verbal agreement, and by our acts we could prove that she's exclusive to me, and I have the right to enjoy and use her, and I'm exclusive to her. I said, we don't need a marriage contract. We don't need a certificate from the state to prove that we are each other's property, that we believe that we are exclusive to all others within a society to use and enjoy as we wish, without any government intervention. So these poor women are like, but you used the word property. I said, that's right, because the legal society can't use the word property, because the number one function from all time since time began with governments are created to protect and secure property. That's all they have. That's their mission statement, is to secure and protect the property of man. That's what they exist for. That's why we created them. And man is the creator of the governments. There are public servants. We are the public. They serve us. So we are supposed to go to the government when we require something. They are never allowed to knock on our door and say, hey, I got a sale for you today. I got a benefit. Don't you want it? Look, when I want you, I will come seek you out. Do not bother me. Don't interfere with my life. When I've ran out of every other course of action, like go to my family, go to my parish, go to my community, go to my state, my county. Then maybe I'll go to, like, say, the federal government for help. But until then, I don't require any help, and please just let me alone.
So what stage was this when you were using this expression to the social services, when you were saying...
A few days after he was born.
Right.
So we just basically asked the women, I said, have me and my wife done anything wrong to this newborn? No, we're not accusing you of doing anything wrong. I said, then we don't require anything of your benefit from the government. Thank you, but no thank you anyway. You know. And they said, well, if you don't sign this piece of paper, you'll never see him again. I said, oh, is that a threat? And they said, we do this every day, Mr. Lentz. I said, well, you picked on the wrong guy, because I know that's my property, and the government only exists to protect the property of man. So you're going to have a run-in with me. I said, we're going to have fun. So for 6 years, they held the child. No charges ever against us, laid against us. And when we finally got a copy of the contract, 6 years later, it was what you folks have over here in Britain too. You folks usually have something called safety plans. And all these women who are having their children taken away, unless they've been criminally convicted of, like, say, chopping the kid's arm off or something like that, and they're into prison for something, they enter into voluntary agreement plans that say they'll make sure the house is clean, they'll make sure they get off of drugs, they'll make sure whatever. It's also a voluntary agreement that these folks make. Well, these people were so lazy that when my child was born, they didn't bother to fake a safety plan. They didn't bother to fake a contract. So what they did is they put an 80-year-old lady on here with a 40-something-year-old uncle taking care of a 3-year-old girl in an apartment somewhere. So this contract has nothing to do with me, my wife, or a newborn Downs baby in a hospital. That's how lazy they were. So obviously I'm moving my suit against them for damages, for interfering with my child for all those years. I got the child's back living on my mom's farm in Virginia, where we originally wanted to bring him 12 years ago. But this is what I tell people all the time. Inside of their own code system, they understand the capacity of a man. Man has the capacity to wish. So you say, oh, Carl, that's such a cute word, wish. Well, you know what? Within their own code, it just says voluntary placements. It says the department has no authority under a voluntary agreement to hold a child against the parent's wishes. Very simple. All you have to do is go back to the county or whoever has it, say, I wish for the child to be returned. If you voluntarily sign an agreement, I don't care if you didn't live up to any of the terms and conditions with the contract. Anytime you wish for your property to be restored, restoration of property, not restored. Restored is the best.
Carl, can I say at this stage, because I've been learning as this knowledge has been unfolding, but of course you're highly experienced in the system and the simple words. But what we know people can't do is sort of, unless they actually know what they're doing with those words and phrases, they can't simply go in and play a game unless they've been trained in the game.
Right, and I thought it was extremely simple, the game, but I didn't realize, since my mom worked for the federal government since 1972 as an IRS tax auditor, I've been conditioned and trained in this game my whole life because my mom prepared cases against folks for failing to pay taxes, so she was always hitting us at home with stuff that they use in court all the time, so it became second nature to me. Watching Bali go into court, I didn't realize how difficult it was. So we were passing these notes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and finally the magistrate said, "Sir, who are you?" I said, "I'm Karl Lentz from the United States of America." He said, "Yes, would you like to sit next to your friend, and would you like to help him out?" I said, "Yes, I'm his next friend." And in the United States, it's somebody who helps somebody who's incompetent is their next friend. And here it's called a McKinsey friend.
Yes.
So I said, lovely, lovely. So every time the judge was saying something wrong, I'd tell Bali, I'd write a little note saying, that's not proper. Like when the magistrate asked Bali, do you want me to call your witness? And Bali was going to say yes. And I said, no, I require of you to place my witness on the stand. Because a man wants from nothing from any other man. God provides all that a man could want. You don't want anything from that man in a black robe because he can deny you. He can say, no, it's not going to happen then. No, I require of you. Because require means by authority and by right. And only man has rights because the government says duties, obligations, and responsibilities according to the Constitution, Charter, or contracts. Men are not bound by paper. We do as we wish. So what I said to Bali, you require, it means and by right. States and governments have authority, but they have no rights. Okay? So the judge was realizing, this is what I was saying to you earlier, it's called a sibboleth. It's like S-I-B-B-O-L-E-T-H. They still do that like in Mecca when you want to go see the holy city and you want to go around, it's around a rock. They'll give you a question when you approach the gate. And if you don't get it right, well, ancient times you were executed. But I don't know if they still do it. But what it is there's certain key words that these people are listening for, and only that within that legal society, or that Muslim society, or that Hebrew society, they know when you're entering their temple, they're going to give you a question. And if you're saying it properly, the judge is trained to pick up that word and says, ah, he knows the game. He knows the words. This is going to be fun. So in the United States, I basically gave 10 words out there, and there's some man going to the courts now. He's 35 years old. He's unemployed. Nice man named Dennis in Eaton, Pennsylvania. Sorry, I don't remember your last name. But he called up my show one day. He said, this has been a lot of fun sitting in court because those 10 words keep coming up, like unbelievably how many times those simple words come up. And if you understand, like the difference between saying you're in person or if you're a man, a person is a man, but he has always a duty and responsibility to that society when he's in person. But I just appear in court as a man, and I'm only obligated to harm that I've caused any harm or wrong to another man. I'm not obligated to your legal society. I'm sorry you believe what I did was wrong, but technically I'm not part of your society, so how can I be held liable if I don't know the rules of your society? You gotta, leave me alone because I'm not liable.
For somebody who's not familiar with what you're talking about at the moment, and you correct me, but we are dealing with the fact that there is a separate system running inside the courts. Mm-hmm. It's a procedural system, but most importantly, it has its own language.
Absolutely.
And if you become involved in that language, you become involved in the procedure.
You're in grave peril. You're in grave peril. The only thing I always tell people, like every one of these seminars I've done in this nation, the very first thing I said to these folks, I said, you do know what Queen's Bench is? And they all look at me. And it's like all these scholars and gurus that I've been talking to, because the people who've listened to me or come to my shows are really like hardcore into this. I said, you folks don't know how to access Queen's Bench. You don't understand the concept of Queen's Bench. I said, have you ever watched the Judge Judy show? It's like there's somebody who sits up there, or a jury. 2 men come in, 1 man leaves. It's very simple. There's no procedure. When you are the moving party or the claimant, you call the rules of the court. You invoke your customs and jurisdiction. You invoke how the court's going to move. If the other side doesn't like it, they can challenge and that's when you have preliminary hearings or precipice days, when you guys argue back and forth the merits of your case with the other party. But obviously you always try to settle the matter on a private side before it gets into an open court. So this is what I did very simple with Bali, is I invoked the Queen's Bench. So all I did with Bali's case was I just said, I, Rashim Man, require of you to place your case before Queen's Bench. The next part of the notice was very simple. It's just, once we get before Queen's Bench, plaintiff must press the record. And as soon as they got that little notice, Bali and them, they were ready to fight. The magistrate was like, hold off, I got this. This was a different hearing. This wasn't the Friday one. This was like 2 Mondays ago. He said to the barrister, he said, you do know code enforcement officers and all that paperwork has no standing in Queen's Bench. You know, it's all hearsay. You know, you're not going to be able to present that in Queen's Bench. He says, you know that, right? He says, we'll figure out how to get it in. I said, and then the magistrate was like, this is a waste of time. You better go out in the hallway and figure it out with these people because you have no standing in Queen's Bench. So that's what you're saying. There's a parallel system running in this country. You have my stuff will not work in France. It only works in the UK. And Bali did say that one time to the judge.
Because this is dealing with a base of common law.
Common law. Yeah. And the whole world, it means like some people really like that Star Trek belief, one world government order, intergalactical planetary, the code is the same universally, but I actually enjoy going to different cultures and different countries and not seeing McDonald's on every street corner. I like diversity. I really enjoy it. I don't want a homogenous world. I really enjoy seeing different cultures and what worked for them for the last 10,000 years and what doesn't work for them, and try to see if we could grab something from them. But if they're just going to be one corporate universal code world, it's going to be almost like like robotic. We're just digressing a little bit, but you're suggesting that we are heading towards a sort of unified judicial system for the world. It will, until, like I said, unless. Thank God for the internet, because I'm able to come here, and Bali wouldn't have known. And I just woke up so many people here in the UK. It's unbelievable. So we actually physically went to Queen's Bench, which was a lot of fun. Bali likes doing the tourist thing, so we actually got to Queen's Bench late. So they said it's closed. The court's closed at 4:30. I said, oh, really? You believe it's closed at 4:30? I said to the security guard. He said, yes. I said, no. If the Queen was here, does the Queen not have free access to Queen's Bench? He said, yes. So is it not true that the Queen and the people also have access to Queen's Bench? Yes. So if it's free for her, it's free for me as well, right? And he's like, I never heard of such a thing. I said, where's your off-duty officer, off-duty judge after hours? He says, I never heard of such a thing. I said, you better call up security, the head security guy. And then he tried to give me razzle-dazzle, said, come back at 10 o'clock. I said, oh, really? Where is your duty judge? Like we have him in the United States, where two of my friends are judges, and they ask me to be a hearing officer at times. So I said, where's your duty judge? So like I said, they don't make it easy for you folks to know the rules. The rules are very simple. But yes, we got in after hours. Yes, we filed our case probably 6, 7 o'clock at night. And the security guard, when we left, he says, that's unheard of. I've never seen any. We actually went to London, to the Court of Justice, whatever they call them, justice courts, and we actually filed a claim after 4:30. So people like you folks have to understand, the courts are open 24/7, 365. And it was funny, I actually took a picture of it where it said, if any person wishes to access Queen's Bench after hours, call the duty judge and the courtrooms will be open. So, instead of me explaining a long thing, what I did...
So simply by knowing what the real rules for the Queen's Bench were, you were able to get them to take paperwork. Otherwise, we use the expression fob off. You get the fob off, we close at 4:30.
That's my building. That's the public's building. Is this not a public building? Right. Am I not the public? Is this Queen's Bench? Is not... Open the door. I'm coming in. Yeah. And the security guards are like, this is unbelievable. You can't come in. Who do you think you are? Yeah. Team America, we're coming in. We're going to open up this gate. I'm telling you, we're going to tell you the rules. So they were like, yes, there is a duty judge. And yes, the duty judge said, fine. Just write down why you couldn't come here at 4:30. Explain a little reason why you were late, and I'll make sure the paperwork goes through and I'll send you a copy tomorrow. I said, lovely. And Polly was like, I would have never done that without somebody like you. I said, yeah, because in America, we really don't take no for an answer very well. We usually... this country's very orderly. You guys are beyond orderly, and America, it's a free-for-all compared to what you guys got. You guys are very, it's sweet. I mean, it's lovely, but boy. We
queue, basically. We stand in line. We stand in line. I think that's the right expression.
But, so like I said, if you want to talk a little bit about that, the PowerPoint slides we got, that'd be great. Because,
okay. Right, we're going to say that all of this has been put together very quickly this morning. Yeah. So we may have a few out of sequence, but let's see how we go. So this is the first one we had to call up. So if you're happy with that, tell us what we got here.
Well, I always do things a little odd and a little different. It's called like Uncommon Law. That's the website. Broadmind.org. Sorry about that's the name of my website. Yeah. And everybody in my family spelt their name with the letter K instead of letter C's. So there was just a twist, and I got fortunate that I came to the UK, and it fits in perfect with your guys' UK. I got lucky. But I usually do like a word of the day, and this was like the word of the day, and I explained to folks capitalization.
Are you saying this is one of the slides that you've used in the talks in UK?
Or? Oh, yeah. Talks everywhere. I wrote a dictionary. So like I said, I realized the dictionary got out of hand. It's like 3,477 words, and I have a WAV file for every single word so you folks know how to pronounce it. But I realized, you know what, there's only basically maybe 20 to 50 words that you ever really need to know to evoke your own court. It isn't very complicated. You don't have to go to law school for this. It's very simple. And like I said, when I do it, like I did when I make claims to get property restored, the restoration of property for parents getting their children back, it's always 2-3 sentences tops.
Right.
There's no reason to have, and I make it in 22 font, so it looks like I'm putting something into the court. It's like, that's it. That's it. And it's funny, the state attorney, New Mexico did that one time in court, and he said, let me read what their claim is. Court, the lady's name is to require the immediate restoration of property, see Exhibit A, because they have no right to know what my child's name is. I just give them a picture. I said, attach your picture, Exhibit A. Unless the child is restored, I'm going to charge the unlawful holder of this child $1 for every second the child is held in, unlawful naked possession or naked possession. So the judge, so he read it out to the court, and luckily the state prosecutor said, that's her whole defense. That's her whole answer to the court. And the judge just said to her, so you don't want to work with us, you don't do AA classes, you don't want to do anger management, you still know you have criminal charges of fighting the police, you don't want to do what's in the best interest of your child. She says, I require the immediate restoration of property. And that's all she said. And he said to the prosecutor, that's on my show, it's a 40-minute clip that the husband calls up and tells what happened. And the judge looks over and says, restore her property. And the other side, the CPS and everybody said, well, she hasn't done anything. He says, you know the law, restore her property. And then they said the child ran over and was done. And the child's name was Serenity. And Serenity was restored. And it's that simple. A lady in Canada was on my show last week, and there was a Downing Thomas, guest 11 and guest 31 was downing me. So I said, oh, really, really? You know, oh, wait a second, I see the folks from Canada were listening. So I put them on. I said, and then the kids came on and said, oh, thank you, Uncle Carl, for helping me get home. Yeah, we really love being home. Thanks for helping my mommy. Da, da, da. So it works.
Okay, two things here, Carl. One is we'll bring that slide back up so that you can describe what people are seeing, because the print's very small. Just take us through why you wanted to get this information on screen.
Well, the big thing is, like I said, if you go further onto the slides, I'm going to show you the hierarchy of how they work. And what you look at is everybody knows who watches these kind of shows like a hierarchy, like a pyramid, like a capstone. So like say a creator, nobody knows what the creator truly is. I can't tell you what your creator is. You can't tell me what I believe the creator is. So a supreme being or God. You have your own beliefs. I have my own beliefs. No people on planet Earth. So that's why it's always basically left empty, and you got like the I, the one. So when folks don't understand this capitalization rule is extremely important. When you write, like when I used to see how I write is I, a man, I always start with lowercase I, because I don't decapitate myself. And it goes back to old Roman customs and traditions, that if you diminish the capacity of the man by how you stylize the name. So when they're reading the paper, they see I, a man, in lowercase. They're like, okay, I, the capstone, I, the one, okay. You know, I, a man, by nature, I am a man. It's like, okay. And then the characteristics of the man, I am known as KARL LENTZ. It's like, okay. And that's basically as far as you want to go with these people. You just basically want to say, I, a man, or you can give your name. Sometimes it's best just to stop as a man. That way they know that they're interacting with a man, and the man is the one who created the governments. Man creates the courts. Man created the judges. No judge ever created a man. Right. So that's on the next ones you're going to see. Okay.
What I'd just like to, really ask you at this point is, of course, this. If we're talking about children being taken away, we're talking about an incredibly emotive subject to parents.
Right.
And I've been into court, I don't know, about 10 times with into the family court, and I've seen everything. I've seen the lies, I've seen the perjury, all the rest of it. How do you, what we're not offering in this interview is a magic wand, because people have got to know their stuff. But the question is, how do you deal when a judge is actually the judge themselves is corrupt? Well, sorry, that Michael pick up your pen.
Sorry about that.
Sorry.
The big thing is like, let me tell a lady from Canada story. She was thrown out of court. She had 4 children, and they had gun and drug charges on them. So obviously that's pretty powerful stuff to be charged with, to have children in the house and have that kind of stuff. And so what happened was she tried to put in all this free man stuff, and they got thrown out of the courtroom. About 4 or 5 months later, I just happened to start on my radio show, and I said, the first mom and dad who calls up needs their kids back, I'll get them back for them. So he just happened to ring. So he started going on and on about free man stuff. I said, wow, do you have a wife or a woman here in the house? And I said, yes. And then I said, do you understand any of the stuff you're saying? She's not really. I said, you know, this is all your fault. Yes, because you listen to this guy with this crazy stuff. She's like, yes, good, I could work with you. So I said, by the time we get on the next show, I said, we'll have the results for her. So this was a massive gamble for me. So it worked out great, as I really worked hard with this lady, and I made a very simple four-sentence thing. I require the restoration of property. So as soon as she turned that one little piece of paper into the clerk of the court, who then turned it to the court clerk, which is different, court clerk ran and got the head judge. The head judge all of a sudden invited these people into his chambers. Said, why did you use this word property? Lincoln freed the slaves. What had to do with Canadians, I don't know. Shouldn't we call them children? That's right. That way they have jurisdiction and control over children, but they have no jurisdiction and control over property.
Right. Now, this I brought up in a little bit of chat last night with Barley, because we've had one of the family division judges saying, Colville, I think his name is, saying where children are concerned, you have no rights.
That's right. He's correct. Where your property is concerned, you have rights, because property is inherent within you. Property, like I said, that's why I say to property all the time. That which is proper and exclusive to all others within a society. So nobody has, you're saying, that child is my property. He's exclusive to me, bared by the fruits of my labor. He's exclusive for me to use and enjoy. Property, not child. Property. See, these are Sibboleth words. Right. They're listening.
So the judge, that American judge, was
Canadian.
New
Canadian. Yeah, okay. This was Queen's Bench in Canada. So see, this works in Canada as well.
He was trying to trick the family back into
under his jurisdiction and control. Right. Absolutely. She got home and she says, "Oh, we had a wonderful visit with the judge. Oh my God, all this worked out great. Da 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 da. We had never been treated so great in court. Da 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 da. And we got trial coming up on Friday. Da da da. Monday." And he said, all the judge asks us to do is change the word property to child. I said, get back up there and change it back. Lady, do exactly what I tell you to do. Do not. I said, I told you long ago, if you don't do exactly what I tell you to do, exactly what I tell you to do, you'll never see your children again, I guarantee it. She's like, yeah, I know. They already got them set up for foster care. And there was 4 children scattered all over New Brunswick, all over the province. So they didn't even have visits with their kids in 4 or 5 months. So it was really sick what they did to these people. And but like I said, go back. And she was upset. She was like, oh, I got to go all the way back. It costs so much money and diesel. I said, lady, do it, or don't ever call me again. And she was like, fine, fine. So she went up there and she changed it back to property. So when the trial hit on Monday, there were 20 affidavits in the case file. They had to go over 20 witnesses' statements in court. It was incredible. Each kid had a guardian ad litem. Each child had a doctor. And they were saying how horrible the kids were, da-da-da-da-da. She, after all those 20 witnesses, the husband went. And even he admits on the show, he tried his crazy free man stuff for an hour and a half, and he's like, it went nowhere. She got on the witness stand, and I said to her, I said, can you point out the woman who took your property? I said, can you do this? And she said, yes. I said, good. I said, so then when you see the woman, so when you get the stand, say, that woman robbed me of my property. I demand of you the immediate restoration of property. And the judge said to her, well, you haven't even got a copy of the case file. Don't get the case file. Their facts, their evidence means nothing. Whatever somebody else wants to believe, let them believe whatever they want to believe. I'm never going to challenge your facts. I'm never going to challenge your evidence. That's what you believe. You can't convince me there isn't a God or is a God. That's your beliefs. I don't care what your facts are. I don't care what your evidence is. Don't worry about mine. You present your case to the jury, and they'll determine the merits of your case. And then I'll get a chance, and I'll determine the merits of my case. So stop worrying about what their case file says. You present your case, and that's all that matters. You try on your suit before the jury, and they'll determine whether it has merit. Don't worry what the other side's doing. So what happened was the lady said, she robbed me of a property. I demand of you immediate restoration of property. And the judge was like, well, he didn't get the case file, haven't got a lawyer, da-da-da-da-da, all this other stuff. Don't even do the best interest of the child's sake. She said, why won't you work with us? And she said, why would I want to work with a robber? Why do I care why they rob me? I require the restoration of property. And the judge went, the court will be in recess. And she said they sat in a lobby. So then what was funny is at 5 o'clock they were told to go home. This is all on the show. The lady said it right on the show.
If I just, very quickly, if I just bring this one up, it'll be one of these shows, will it?
No, it's one of the earlier shows. This man just has he doesn't have the April and May shows yet. These are snippets, these are legal advice. This is the shows that I give people.
Right, just so that we're helping people to come into your information, that these are just a tiny selection of are they video or audio? They're video clips, aren't they? YouTube clips.
What it is, somebody took part of my radio shows apart, and I try to say to people, this is not legal advice. This is law. This is common law. Like, this stuff won't hold up in any code world, but it will hold up in a common law land, which we are a part of, fortunately. That's why I'm not I'll never go over to France, because this won't work over there. But while we still have access to the common law and Queen's Bench, use it. And no matter how many people I talked to, they said, we don't know Queen's Bench. I said, a simple Judge Judy show. Judge, 2 man, 1 in, 1 out. Boom, that's it.
Right.
This isn't rocket science.
Okay, Carl. Give me an answer to this question of what happens if... I do not believe all the judges in Britain are bad. I do not believe they're all corrupt. I think a lot of them have turned a blind eye to corrupt practices because they wanted to protect their income or their pensions. But I do know that there are some judges which are clearly utterly corrupt.
Okay.
How do we deal with them?
Okay, let me just finish what happened with Jesse at Jacinth.
Right.
What happened was the judge said recess until tomorrow morning. When Jesse walked in, and her husband walked into the Queen's Bench the next day, into their court up there in New Brunswick, the Crown barrister walked across the lobby and said, who wrote this? Just the 2 sentences, who wrote this? And she said, well, I did. He said, no, are you a lawyer? No. Who wrote this then? She said, I did. And he said, no, Right. Do you want to come work for us? And she's like, no, why? She said, because we're scared poopless. I can't use the word that the Crown used, but that's what he said. We are poopless. Whoever wrote this knows what he's doing. Who did this? They said to her, when do you want your property restored? And she said, immediately. He said, well, they're all over the province. Can you give us until Friday? And she said, okay, that'll be fine. So they understand when you make a 2-sentence claim, it's over. It's done. There's nothing they can do. No matter how corrupt the system is, no matter what, these people are still duty-bound and honor-bound. When you say certain shibboleth words, certain key words, they know there's nothing. They all know all their society members are watching.
Right. I'm just going to push you on this one because I've struggled with some of this myself. We're saying we've got people that when the courts are running properly, the system they're using is by nature deceitful in that we don't understand what it's about.
So why aren't you in Queen's Bench?
Right. But we can also say that the people running that deceitful system have a code of honour amongst themselves. Of course. And would I then be right in saying that if they were to start making their own, if a judge was to start making their own decision, which is counter to their own code of conduct, their system would start to break down?
No. The big thing is that you folks, you have to understand that the man in the black robe does not create the orders. The claimant creates the order. So when you make a claim, when you are going into their administrative court, or if I went into your court, I'd be coming into your case. You define me, and you tell me what rules I have to abide by. Now, if I don't want to abide by those rules, or I say that's unfair and unjust, I'm going to move my claim. So poor Bali, when his family was doing this for 1.5 years, 2 years before they met me, they were not allowed to present evidence, facts, nothing, da-da-da. They thought they had a lovely case, and they were saying, oh, the judges are corrupt and evil, da-da-da. I said, Bali, you have to move your case. If they have their case, you have no rights. You think they're going to let you win in their case? No, they're going to make it inherent that there's no way in the world that you could possibly win in their case. You have to move your own case. So when you move a case in Queen's Bench, they can't follow. Unfortunately, here in a common law land, Queen's Bench rules supreme. So they have to basically leave their case at the door and come after you in Queen's Bench as man on man. Not public servant against man, man on man. Not person on person, because a person is a man who has a duty and obligation to a society. And he's saying, I'm not a person, I am a man. I have the right to access Queen's Bench. You have to pursue me now, chase me, prosecute me now into the Queen's Bench. And once we get there, you have to utter your proof, your claim in open court. You have to press the record. And they know they can't do that.
Right.
And that's what the magistrate said. It's done. It's that simple. It's a trump card. You guys are done. And the common law land is so simple, it's scary.
Okay, let me ask you another question then. When you go into the Queen's Bench, you're only producing or presenting your case in front of judges?
No, juries. You go under Blackstone's Commentary, Volume 3, Section 378. The jury has, at their own peril and hazard, the right to interpret the law as well as the facts. So, that's Section 378, Blackstone's Commentary, Volume 3. Okay,
so are you automatically getting a jury when you go into the Queen's Bench?
Because I could get things done in front of men, like I did with Bally the other day. We did not record. We came in as defendants in an administrative court, and have certain shibboleth words I still shot out at the judge, and the judge realized this is a man. He's evoking the common law. I have to respect this man. This is the supreme law of this land, not the silly code stuff. A man is now present, and I have to respect the fact that the man is present, and this man will prevail.
Right.
Flip the court, just like that.
Right.
It's a way to flip it, really easy. And he could have flipped it back by saying certain things wrong. Thank goodness I was behind him like a ventriloquist. Say, don't say this, don't say that.
Yeah.
Or he would have lost. Like as soon as the judge said, do you want me to call the witness? Yeah, he was going to say yes. No. I require of you to call the witness.
Yeah.
So there's a difference because I require of you, use a plural. I don't know if anybody really realized
so
that.
This is an absolutely key point, that because we have also, and we've had calls from people who've tried to take a little bit of knowledge into the courts, and one gentleman, we won't mention his name, but he tried to take on the police over an incident, and you could see that what was actually happening was a very simple offence in the beginning was becoming deeper and deeper and more of a problem for him, because he was trying to use knowledge that wasn't totally correct.
Because the big problem I can see right now, what you said, is there's no such thing as the police, the state, the government, the army. It's Bob, Susie, or Joe who happens to be clothed under the color of law at that time, who acts as a officer of the government. You have to go after the man in Queens Bench. You can't go after the police in Queens Bench. You have to say, like Barry Rose caused a trespass on land. And it's so funny, the judge kept saying, he tried to stop saying common law. He kept saying the officer was uninvited. He kept saying Barry trespassed on land. And he's like, I mean, the officer was uninvited. So that even the Judge Martin, really good man, Judge Gregg and Judge Martin, beautiful guys. And I guarantee Bali and their family hated these two guys for the last year and a half. But once the judge realized, the magistrate realizes, we have the Queen present, we have a man present, we have our Creator present, we must respect them. They will. If you want to act like a person, then they get to control you. Right. But if you're above them, they realize you are above them. You're a man.
Right. My brain is right. So there's okay. There's a couple of very good questions come up here. So let me just get focused on this. So this is in relation to a case where a newborn baby was taken away, and it says the judge in Paul's case. We don't need to know more about. The judge in Paul's case refused to answer the question: is the son property or? So when that question was asked in a case, the judge simply didn't want to answer.
He doesn't have to. It's not his case. It's CPS's case against the parents. The parents have to make a case against the CPS and file it through Queens Bench. Once they file it through there, they have 21 days to answer the question, whose property is this? Will you not restore property? If you will not restore property, we are going to take this before Queens Bench, and the Queen or the jury will decide whose property this is. They don't have to talk to you in their case. It's their case. Just like if it's my suitcase, and I want to pack my suit and my accoutrements or my exhibits in a certain way in my case, how dare you try to put your socks or your shoes in my case? This is my case. I'm going to present my case now. If you don't know to make your own case up before we go before the trial or before we go before the judge, that's your problem. Because you don't know the rules of court. That's your problem. Don't try to put your stuff in my case and don't tell me, oh, explain why you put silver thread in that suit in your case. Tell me why. Explain. I don't have to explain nothing. This is my case. And they're not telling you the simple thing. Make your own damn case, and then we'll worry about it.
Right, so here's a question for you. Why would the judiciary want to run a parallel system where we're saying that it's inherently deceptive? We think we understand what happens when we go into court. You are saying overwhelmingly that we don't understand it. Why would these people want to deceive us over a matter of justice?
One, believe it or not, it'll bring you closer to understanding who and what you are as a man. The more, like, I guess, toil you go through, the better clarity you have of just what your purpose is and what you do. Like I said, when I first was going through this, my whole family went down to Alabama. We went to the United States District Court down there, and we talked to Department of Justice, criminal prosecutor Sandy Callahan Jr., big man, lieutenant colonel. And I thought he was embarrassing me in front of my whole family because we were trying this. Me and my wife had gotten 17 attorneys throughout the years. I had 9, she had 8. We were trying everything in the world to get a copy of the contract. We could never get it. So Sandy Callahan finally said to me, he looked at me, he said, when you learn how to be a man, you won't need any government assistance. You won't need my help. You won't need anybody's help. You'll know exactly what to do. And I thought he was insulting me. I was like, wait a second, I'm the oldest son. I take care of my folks' farm. What are you talking about? I got all these brothers and sisters. I'm like the man of the family. He says, you're not a man. I says, what? He says, you don't know the rules of court. You don't know how to act as a man in the public. Maybe you know how to take care of your family, but you don't know how to act like within this society. You don't know what it means to be a man. So I was furious at him for years. And then I finally became aware about 2.5 years ago when I finally realized I looked in all the law dictionaries I could find. I purposely moved next to a law university in Virginia. There is no definition of the word man in their legal dictionaries. The best definition I could find of the word man, it said an adult male. An adult male what? I said to myself, a snake, an adult male aardvark, a cricket, an adult male what? So I realized, oh my, this legal society can't define its creator. Just like I can't define your creator, you can't define mine. They can't define man. So when I confronted a lot of attorneys and law professors, I said, do you realize out of all these books there's no mention of the word man? And
I think you looked
even
at
realize it.
16 law dictionaries, was it, that you studied at one time?
Oh, how many? It's an unbelievable
16,
amount. I have a whole list of the ones I've done throughout the years. But what I've realized is I had mountains of books, and when I finally realized what it was to be a man, I realized all these books I have with all these little sticky notes sticking out the side of it were all worthless. So I boxed all of them. I had 2 stacks about 8 feet high, and I just boxed them all off. I said, I never need one of these books ever again. I know how to be a man. I know how to act as a man in common law. I got this. All this stuff is for their society because they're just representing something. I'm presenting the man, the creator, to the court. And this is, oh my, I don't have to use any of their citations. I never use any of their codes. I never use any of their precedent. I never use any of their constitutions. Because if you try to use, like say, I was telling you earlier about the Second Amendment, are you going to have Thomas Jefferson or James Madison come in open court and say, this is what the Second Amendment means? No, it's what they believed at that point in time. That's what their belief system was. My belief, now this is my day in the sun. I'm going to tell you what I believe is in the best interest of me, not what they believed back in 1776.
Right. I got a lot of stuff going through my head. Next question for you. We see at the moment in UK that we've got a government that is desperately trying to strip away the rest of common law. We can see that. I may be using the wrong term, but we're watching the government try to effectively trick people into believing that statute law is the only law. And
Right.
of course, the next step I believe that we would see in this country, if we let it happen, is that statute law will then be merged with corpus juris, which is the European law, which is going into the French-type jurisdiction.
Yeah, why don't
that
you
you've
flip
mentioned.
to that page right there?
Can we bring up that one, Mike, please? The one on the screen? That one.
No, next one. Keep going.
Oh, next. No, it's this one.
That one. That's
Okay.
the one.
Right.
This is what I try to explain to people all over the place. I said, obviously, at one time, the whole entire planet basically was common law, or customs based on the people of the land. Now you can see how blue, you can say the color right there is blue. The blue symbolizes civil. The civil law, the statute law, the Napoleonic Code worlds. So obviously, eventually in time, this whole world, that's why you got Sharia law then too. You can see the Islamic country with the Sharia law. But you can see how very few countries are basing it on the Sharia law and common law, and almost the whole entire planet now is under some sort of a code. And that's what I said.
So, sorry, which colour is common law at the moment?
Brown. Australia, India, you see that?
Oh, right, okay. Yeah.
America, and
Yeah.
the North American, well, except for Mexico.
Right.
That's also a code world. But like I said, this is what I'm saying that was just happening. They are going to get a one world order sometime in the future. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it's overwhelming unless people somehow realize that the government serves man, not man serves government, that man isn't a person within a government. We are self-governing. Like when the United States of America opened up for business again on October 17th, I should have put that slide on there. I think you forgot to put it on.
Well, we can bring it up now.
Well, no, I think you forgot what it was. Is Barack Obama, when he opened up the federal government again, he said, you folks have to realize, because they realized whatever they were trying to do by closing the federal government, I think they were hoping there'd be riots in the street, chaos, mayhem. Nobody cared. The American people, we could not care less. You know what? You close up Washington, we don't care. Go home. You want to try to do what? You have no impact on man. Do whatever you want. So they realized, oh, wow, this really hasn't any effect on man within the society, does it? No, we really don't care in the United States.
This to me is a really important thing, because the British Constitution Group, going back a couple of years, was beginning to realise that you could either stay trying to fight in the political system, you tried to get a party elected or an MP elected, or you simply, and I'm going to stick up for Roger Hayes on this one, because he was the man. He said, well, no, we should simply say to the MPs at the moment who are causing all the trouble, go away, go and play on your own. We don't need you.
We basically ignore them, right? We basically we don't give them any credence to their existence on planet Earth. So what's funny is, like I said, Barack Obama said when the government opened up for business, he says, you do realize the greatest gift our founders gave us was the right to self-govern. So self-governing, so when the government, somebody, like you said, somebody from the government does something to interfere with your right to self-govern, that's called terrorism. And all terrorism is the interference with the proper function of a government. So if I'm self-governing and you're standing in my way, you're interfering with my right to self-govern. I want to go from point A to point B. For some reason you believe that you have some sort of authority or right to stand in front of me and interfere with me from going from point A to point B. Well, that's terrorism. That's interference with the proper function of a government, and I'm self-governing. So
Well,
you have monarchy governments, democratic governance, self-governance. You have all kinds of governance.
right. UK column, we've been doing it for quite a while now. We've been pointing a finger at our government and members of the government, so David Cameron and we'll say William Hague in particular, since they're the ones pushing for the wars overseas. And we are saying that they are trying to label anybody who criticised the government as a potential terrorist, at least.
Yeah.
We see this happening more, but we've been pointing a finger back saying, no, the domestic terrorists in this country are the very people sat in Westminster, because they are now oppressing.
Well, like I said
people.
to folks too a lot of times, the public servants, like I said, with like a Barack Obama, you know, I'm sure he's a lovely man. He'd probably be a great neighbor. I'm sure he's got a beautiful wife, good kids. I'm sure he has a dog. He'd collar it, chain it up, you know, make sure I don't poop on my lawn. He's a great man. But he's still my public servant. I don't care what my servants are doing as long as they don't interfere with my existence on this earth. They're my servants. They answer to me. I don't answer to him. So, but like I said, with people like my law dictionary, I wrote the word citizen, and citizen comes from the word civis, and civis is Latin for a member of a family. So now, if you want to be a citizen of the United States, obviously then that's Daddy Obama, and obviously you're going to be subordinate to him because you're a member of his family. Now, I owe a duty and allegiance to me, to the Lentz family. You know, then I could say then to God, and then I'll worry about the people, the country. But to me, my first duty is to my family. I'm a Lentz. I'm a citizen of the Lentz family. So if I'm not a citizen of the United States, because I could only be, I could only do it like owe one master. You know, that's my Lentz family. I owe a duty and obligation to them and them alone. If they don't require me to perform a service to them, then I'll worry about taking care of God. Then I'll worry about taking care of Barack Obama's family. But my family comes first. I'm a citizen to my family first.
Okay. Carl, just come up on screen there. Whereas Harry Brown has said, ask Carl again, how do we stop them doing away with common law? So this is somebody who's very worried at what we see is a massive attack at the moment to simply get rid of common law as though it's never existed.
Like I said again, thank God for telephony, thank God for telecommunications, thank God for this internet, or I wouldn't have met you today. Yay. You guys got to meet me too.
So we're doing it.
We're doing it.
By getting them
right, and we're getting the word out, and we're making it. I'm making it. Like I say to people, people say to me all the time, "Carl, how can you make any money at this? You do it in 2-3 sentences. Attorneys do years and years of this nonsense, and they get tens of thousands of pounds or quid for doing what you're doing in 2 sentences." I said, right, there is no money to be made here. So that's why the legal society would give absolutely no benefit to teaching you folks what I'm teaching you. There's absolutely nothing for them to make in it. They'd go back to just taking care of corporations like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Fanta. They would go back to where they belong, dealing with the fictitious entities of the planet. They would not be able to engage in intercourse with man anymore. It's just we're tolerating it.
Right.
That's all it is you're tolerating. Oh, that's a great word I use all the time, too. Some poor man, he came up from London. And I said to them, I said, let me pretend I'm the judge. And I said, and I said to the man, I said, would you say that you're suffering because the policeman broke your arm, twisted your legs, bent you in a pretzel, and that he beat you in the head with a bat? He's like, yeah, I'm suffering because of that. I'd say, next case. And he said, what? I said, suffer. Do you know what the word suffer means? And he's like, he had this big old law dictionary. I said, look it up. And he flipped it open. He says, to permit or to allow. I said, right, did you allow him to do that? Did you have the capacity to stop him, but you chose not to stop him? Right, so when they say, oh, the poor suffering Irish, it's like, oh, well, they're tolerating it, they're permitting it, they're allowing it to happen. They had the ability to stop, but they chose not to. I said, do you understand the words that they're throwing out in the media to you, saying that you suffer or you're suffering? Do you realize that means to consent? Do you realize that means to permit? So do you realize they're making fools out of you people because you're getting this public school education, and they're saying, well, did you suffer by what the policeman did to you? Yes, I suffer badly. Next case. I said, that's how fast I could get rid of your case, if I wanted to get rid of your case that fast. Yeah. Because you just don't know simple words that they're using at you.
I can imagine there's a lot of people watching this and listening, and they're saying, how can it be that we got this parallel system? And what came into my mind was that we were contacted by a mother, I'm going to guess, probably a year ago. She'd had children taken away from her, but she was an amazing lady. She decided she needed to go and learn law to find out how they did this. So she signed on to do a law degree in England, which I think she did in Kent. And then she was so interested that she went across to the States and did one under the American bar. And she said it still didn't explain to me what was really going on.
Right.
But the thing she said, and I've never forgotten it, is she said when she was doing the law degree in England, there was one of the tutors that kept saying something very strange to the students. He kept saying, "Have you seen the film The Matrix?" So initially they said, well, no, not yet. And then he'd ask again, have you seen it? So eventually one of them challenged him and said, why are you so keen for us to watch The Matrix? And he said to them, well, it's important you realise that all is not as it seems. Mm-hmm. And she found that little incident stuck in her mind. It stuck in my mind. But now I'm beginning to think, well, here we are. We've got people going through law school where the people teaching are actually sucking people into this alternative system.
When you go to a legal school, a law school like that, whatever you want to call it, it's a legal society, they are pulling you further away from your status as a man, from you being the creator to you becoming one of them, to you becoming within their society. Because when I took a bar exam just for a laugh, and there was like the very first part is 4 multiple choices. The first one is like banana. The other one is like Eskimo. That's ridiculous. Then the third answer is a common law answer. That'd be perfect in common law. The fourth answer would be the legalese answer. That's the perfect answer in legalese, which is 180 degrees commonly different than the common law.
Right.
And I just realized, I said, this is hysterical. If you do common law, you're going to fail. You're not going to be a member of the bar. But it is the correct answer in common law.
We've got many people now who, as lay persons, have got a lot of experience in court, and they are now seeing some even barrister level people starting to run away and research on the common law, and they're saying we were never taught this.
That's right.
Yeah, so this is the truth beginning to do the job, coming up to the surface.
Because my friend who became a judge in the States, I don't know if you folks understand, how long do you think it takes for them to train them to be a judge? Do you have any idea?
Well, I'm going to answer that with a question. Do you know who appoints judges?
Well, here in the United States, they elect judges.
Right.
So my friend called me up one day and said, he said, I won't be able to hang out with you this week and talk to you this week. He says, because I won the election. And I said, oh, that's right, you're going to be a judge. He's like, yeah, I got to go for 3 or 4 days to the state capitol, and they're going to teach me how to be a judge. 3 or 4 days. So you could be elected a judge, he could be elected for a judge. 3 or 4 days in the United States, they're going to say, you got all you need to know to be a judge. This is how simple it is to you folks. I'm saying, you guys don't understand. I could do in 3 or 4 days what they teach a judge to do in 3 or 4 days. Right. It's that simple.
But we describe, okay, we've got that. We're describing judges as a particularly bad old boy system. They're just appointing each other on a...
Oh, here in the UK?
Well, yeah.
Well, in the United States, Joe Schmo like me could get elected to be a judge, and then we actually have to go to like some sort of... They bring us to the state capitol, and 3 or 4 days later, they give us the, hey, you're a judge. You need everything you need to know. Because being a judge is so beyond simple. It's just basically all built on contract.
Right. Do you want to get this one up? I'd like you to take us through this one.
Yeah, we can do that one real quick. I think we probably brought up the status of standing in court a little bit pretty quickly with the creator, like I was doing with the capstone. We couldn't figure out how to get rid of the capstone. So we just put that up there for quickie. But like I said, a man, like say the creator, say God was a creator, and he came down to planet Earth and he wanted to be, say, a frog. And he was getting stepped on by man forever and ever and ever. And after a while, he got tired of being stepped on by man. So he said, you know what, I'm going to go reestablish my position, and I'm going to go back to being God. But it was fun at the time, but now I'm coming back. What happens to a lot of folks, they're being dragged into other people's court cases as a defendant. So as you get tired of getting stepped on as a defendant, you could say, you know what, I'm tired of being a defendant. Like I said, with Bali's case, I left him as a defendant because I was going to flip the court anyway, and I was going to say, now we're going to be a man. So that's what I did in Bali's case. We flipped it from being a defendant to being a man. And the court judge realized that, and he realized Bali was evoking the common law rights of this land, that we have the right to act as a man at any time we wish. We got done acting as a defendant. We got tired of being stepped on. So guess what? We're going to flip it, and we're going to go back to the status of a man. And that's why people say, how did you flip it as a defendant? Because the judges are listening to certain key words that you're uttering. And only man can use those certain words. Lawyers and barristers can't. Okay.
We got 10 minutes, so let's just run through, because you selected these, so and it's good to get a bit. This is we're in a classroom here now, so we're putting up some stuff. There was a movie that you brought up. The movie you brought up, Matrix, was good. And a better one is Who Framed Roger Rabbit. All man is liable for his debt, and I hate this nonsense about banks don't money. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. If you owe a debt, pay your debt.
If it's causing you harm to pay for your debt, fine. Make it in which is in what you try, what you believe in your best endeavors, in your good faith. This is what the best you could do at this period of time. Like I said, my mom worked for the IRS. If you know the IRS, they're only open from business basically from January until the summertime, fall. So she couldn't pay the mortgage, say, September, October, November, December. So she would just write a simple letter saying the best I could do on my mortgage is $50 a month until I get back on my feet in January. Please accept this $50. And they would. Because when my son was born, we opened up a bank account for my son, and the bank manager came out and said to my mom, I've never seen such a high credit score in my life. How did you do this? And she said, because I know how to write a sentence. I know how to write a letter to my creditors.
Sorry, Carl. What you're telling us now, is that a lead into that slide?
Absolutely, absolutely. So what I'm trying to say is that Who Framed Roger Rabbit is the second dimension engaged in intercoursing with the third dimension. So you want to build up a good rapport with the second dimension. So you don't want to destroy your credit rating, because someday, eventually, you guys are all afraid they're going to go these plastic cards. So if you destroy your birth certificates, you destroy any connection to the second dimension, how are you going to buy groceries at your local store? You be agrarian and go live out in the woods? Okay, go out and live in the woods. But we have to, this is the legal society and the law world of man. We have to intercourse, and we have to try to find a happy balance. So that's what the second dimension is right there. When all you folks walk into these courts all the time, says, or anybody tries to say, "Oh, this paper is certified." Okay, certified means nothing. Oh, this is just a piece of paper that's certified. That's the second dimension. So to support the second dimension has to be uttered by a man. This piece of paper has to be backed up by a man in open court. Somebody has to read out this. Yeah,
otherwise the words don't do anything.
It has to be liable to be true. Until then, it's just a piece of paper with a nice fancy English seal on it. Oh, lovely! Look, lions, tigers, dragons. Oh my, wonderful seal. Who cares? Who said this is true? Who's going to make the claim that this is true? Because you're going to be liable for it. Everything on this piece of paper is going to be true. So when I say to folks, is that just because you have a contract as a piece of paper, they say, well, the bank didn't sign the piece of paper, and no bank signed the contract. It's like, great, lovely. So it's like I said, so with the words, nobody paid, great. But by your actions, did you pay $1 on that mortgage? Yes. So then you believed it was true at one time, that you owed a debt, right? So by your actions spoke louder than your words or whatever's written on a silly piece of paper. So this is what a judge is looking for. He's saying, okay, great. Like Bali, I wrote a nice little simple thing for him. He put it into the court. Judge was like, lovely, wonderful. Now he wanted to hear Bali's words, back up this one little statement. Great. Now he had to watch Bali's actions in court. Was Bali acting like a man? Or was he acting like a little Nancy boy running around in a circle, crying and whining and starting little hissy fits? Bali was able to keep cool and just present his case like a man would. So that's the whole thing. It's your demeanor. It's your actions speak louder than your words. So that's what the judge is looking for. Because if you guys think you're going to use these little silly tricks that I give you folks, these little silly templates that you guys are doing, the judge is there, to me, the judge is there to protect the second dimension, because we need a second dimension. We need a paper currency. We need some sort of second dimension. And we also have to operate in the third dimension with our fellow man. The big thing that the judge does is he test you, even if Bali said everything exactly the way I said, but if the judge saw by Bali's demeanor, it's like, no, he's not a good man. He's not an honorable man. I could tell he's trying to get over on the second dimension. I'm going to protect the second dimension from somebody like Bali. So see, that's what I'm saying. To me, the man in the black robe, he's got that duty to say, protect both sides.
Right. Okay, we've got another one here, which is orders. Never underestimate the power of a pawn. That's a relation to...
This is funny what you folks are saying all the time.
To a chess pawn there, yeah.
Right, this is a chess piece, and then obviously they have people in the community who are into this, who are black, white, brown. So it's made the pawn multicolor, so that's pretty cool. And then either is that the pawn on seventh row going to turn into a king or queen, whatever he wishes to be, or is he protecting the queen?
Just hold it round a bit for the camera. There we are.
Okay.
So we've got a checkered pawn, which is representing everybody in society. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Absolutely.
So the lowly piece on the chessboard.
Basically,
but
when you play chess with me, and if anybody ever hears this, I will always beat you with the pawn. I will let every other piece on the board fall before the pawn, because I love beating you with a pawn. It is so much fun, because it feels so good that you beat them with the pawn. But what I said is, everybody, I've realized these freemen people all have fee schedules. So it's like, oh, good, I don't have to teach you folks fee schedules. Good. Now do you have there's something called An invoice. When somebody gives you an order.
So this is, we bring that one back up, Mike, if you will. Thank you.
Yeah, so when somebody's giving you an order, they're giving it to you in voice. Just like if you went to a waitress at a restaurant, she'd just say, okay, you want to order what? Eggs, bacon, da-da-da, sausage, da-da-da. And she'd be putting down how much you owe, da-da-da-da-da. So some man in Texas, Jimmy Lynn, he actually tested this out. He got stopped by a Texas Ranger. And he said to the Texas Ranger, whenever a Texas Ranger pulled him over, he said, driver's license registration. And Jimmy said, is that an order? The Ranger said, absolutely. He gave him his driver's license. The Ranger said, get out of your vehicle. He says, is that an order? He said, absolutely. He got out of his vehicle. He said, step to the back of the van. Is that an order? Absolutely. Then he said, put your hands on my vehicle because I'm going to search your vehicle now. He said, is that an order? He says, absolutely. He said, he just started laughing. And the officer said, what's so funny? He says, I'm so jacked up on Carl, listen to Carl law. He said, Carl who? He's like, some guy does a law show. He said, but this is exactly what he said you were going to do. You're just carrying out your duty. You're just following orders. It's nothing personal with you and me, Mr. Officer, is it? He's like, no, I'm just doing my job. He said, that's right. You're just carrying out orders. And you were ordered to get into the squad car by the shift commander, and the shift commander was ordered to put you in that car by the sergeant. The sergeant got his orders from the captain, who got the orders from the commissioner. Yeah. So everybody's just following orders. Have I not followed all the orders to date? I'm like, yes, good. So when you're done giving me orders, I'm going to demand fair and just compensation. What? He says, because when you fill out your invoice at the end of the week, for all hours you put in, and you carried out your orders, aren't you going to demand fair and just compensation for carrying out orders all week? And he said, the officer just looked at him and says, get out of here, you're making me nervous. And Jimmy left. I said, no, Jimmy, you should have said, is that an order for me to get out of here for fair and just? He said, he said, I missed that. The cop would have just dropped it and said, please, sir, leave me alone. So like I said, the officers realized that they all know they're just carrying out orders. They say, oh, no, just your orders, just carrying out orders, nothing personal, nothing personal. So when somebody says to you, give me your name, because the only thing you have in this world is your good word and your name. So when you give something so freely, like say a woman who just gives her body away freely, you don't have much value of your name or your word. No, it's very valuable. Don't just give it away. Make the person taking it from you earn it. So when I say, well, give me your name, well, firstly, give me yours. You want fair and just compensation. If I give me yours, give me mine. I'll be more than glad to. And I would say to people, never use the word no. No is a word of controversy. If you talk to any attorney, attorneys will tell you, look, 99% of what we do is we negotiate settlements. That's all we do. Like some lawyers in Virginia said to my sister, what your brother does as a performer on stage, he goes into open court, and not only does he know the law and know how to negotiate settlements, but he knows actually to get up there and perform. Yeah. So we don't know how to perform. We're great negotiators. That's what we're taught at law school. We're not taught how to be a trial attorney, how to go up there and tap dance and win a jury over, like American Idol or British Got Talent. We don't know how to do that. It's a special skill that your brother has. Okay, we got 2 minutes. So one of the things is that you included this slide. I put that in. What's the significance of this? That's to settle the matters on a private side with whoever you believes owes you a debt, because you're not going to want to bring it into an open court and never have the judge decide, because neither one of you might like what the judge is going to do to you with bringing a controversy into the public. And this one is just a little snippet I have from Tomlin's Law Dictionary from 1835, and I was explaining to you earlier. If it was once in law and it's not been outlawed, it's still good law. It's still true law. So all that basically is saying is what a court of record is, that the King's Bench is a court of record. And all court of record meant was, is it worth, because paper and pen was expensive back then, is it worth writing down the proceedings of the court? Should we make this a court of record? Was it worth more than 20 shillings? And they would actually keep a record of it. If it's not worth writing it down on paper and pen, it's called a not of record. That's all it is. That's all called not of record, not it. But a court of record, if you look at a court of record only moves under common law. Only. So court of record. So King's Bench, Queen's Bench is a court of record. And it only moves under the common law, not statutes. Okay. So the big thing at the last slide you saw, it says all access to the Queen's Bench or King's Bench is free to the people. So if they try to give you a filing fee, that's the blue one. This one. Yeah, it's written in blue. The free use of all courts of... Sorry, that one you're looking at, are you? No, this one right here. The free use. Yeah. The free use of all courts of record is to be granted to the people. That's how I got in the door the other day when it was closed after hours. Right. This is the court of record, right? Yes. Okay. Do I have free access to it? Open that door. Cool. We got to the end of the time that we can give.
It's been fascinating. Obviously, I was unfortunately you were feeling a bit poorly last night, but I had the opportunity to talk to Bali and his brother, which was fantastic.
Was it fun?
It was great. It was great fun. This has been phenomenal because we've seen the full spectrum. We've seen free men come unstuck. We've seen some of the things starting to work. We know people are learning. Can we say to you, we'd like to do some more with you, which we'll have to probably do Skype.
Yeah, I just wanted to meet you first. See, if anybody wants to meet me and talk to me, it's hard to trust people over the telephone.
Yeah.
So you want to, you know, test the metal of the man. You want to see if he's for real and genuine. And you definitely seem real and genuine to me. So that's why I have to meet people first before I'll engage with them. I won't do it any other way. That's why I'm here in England. Why wouldn't just help them on the phone?
Well, we will definitely do some more on Skype, and we're also going to introduce some of the things that Roger Hayes and Guy Taylor you met.
Yeah, he's crazy. I like him.
Okay, so there we are. We're starting to take the lid off what the courts are about. We'll just give you Karl's contact details here. So broadmind.org is the one you want to go to, which is the US site. And then you've got ukcommonlaw.co.uk, which is the new UK website. And you've got an email. So freeze the slide if you want to get those details off.
Yeah, and the other email, the new email site is going to be uncommonlaw@gmail.com. So we made a new one. That's the American one, the email one.
Right.
Uncommonlaw@gmail.com is for the UK folks.
Okay. Well, I had a quick look on Google, and it's pretty easy to track you down.
Oh, good.
And now they've seen your face, and they've seen.
Now they got my face.
Now they've got your face, so we know who you are. So I'm going to say thank you very much for coming all this way.
Thank you, Brian.
And the answer is now presenting itself, isn't it? Exposure, which the UK column keeps banging on about. Exposure is 95% of the weapon to deal with these people. There are many good people out there. There are some good politicians, not many. There are many, many good policemen and women, and we now know there are some good judges as well. So we need to support these people and encourage them, not attack them. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.
Keeps clear.